In January, I made a video where I talked about my favorite series as of January of 2018. So the thing is, I am extremely picky about the endings of my books. I am very rarely 100% happy with the way a series, specifically a series, ends. I just feel like I'm so particular. I want it to be really epic and dramatic, but I also want it to be extremely emotional and heart-wrenching in at least one way, and I want at least one main character to die, because I just don't think it's realistic, and I also think it's really annoying when like everybody makes it out clean after like a huge battle. And then I have some other things. I made a whole list of things that I'm tired of seeing in books, and a lot of it had to do with like the way series end. So I'll link that down below. It's called Stop Putting This Stuff in Books. I just filmed that video like last month or something, so you've probably seen it. But anyway, I'm very rarely happy with the way series specifically finish off, but I very rarely get to actually say specifically this book did this and I didn't like it because of spoilers. So that's what this video is. I'm taking the books that I talked about in my favorite series, and I'm going to talk to you about the things that dissatisfied me in my favorite series. Now obviously this is going to be a video full of spoilers, so what I've done is down below in the description I'm going to have timestamps for each series. So if you haven't read one of these series, just go down into the description and skip to the next one, skip to the ones that you've actually watched so that you, or actually read, so that you don't get any spoilers here. But anyway, let's talk about some like what I would like to have seen done a little bit differently. I'm going to start off with the one series that wasn't in that video, coming in at my number 6 favorite series as of March of 2018, and that's Shadow and Bone, or rather the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I read this after I made that video, so that's why I wasn't in it. There's a couple of things that I was dissatisfied with this one, but my main one, my biggie, the real, like the biggest thing that I just, was Mal. If you watch my Grisha talk, which you should have because it was a good time, we discussed a whole lot of spoilers of the Grisha trilogy, but I liked Mal. He was fine, and I was happy for Elena that she ended up with the guy that she wanted from start to finish. But he died, and he came back. And I hate the resurrection trope. I hate it so much. I've talked about this in videos before, so I'm gonna try not to go on a rant. I just hate it because it happens so often in fantasy now that I don't mourn people's deaths. When people die in fantasy, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'll turn the page and they'll be alive again. And I think that it's lame that authors have robbed me of mourning people because authors are too afraid to kill their characters. And I think that if you kill someone, you just need to be prepared to let them die. So even though like I was happy for Elena that she ended up with the guy that she wanted the whole time, if you're gonna kill him, kill him. I think that the whole like plot line with Mal's death was done really well, and I enjoyed it. And so I would have been happier. Even though I was happy for Elena that she got the guy that she wanted, I would have been happier if Mal died and he stayed dead, and it was this really tragic thing where the guy that she wanted from book 1 to book 3 died. And like that would be the big emotional, oh my gosh, that sucks, penalty of war, people die. And then the way it ended was Elena went back with Nikolai to his kingdom and worked as the sun summoner. She didn't lose her powers, even though losing her powers, that was a really good penalty of war. I enjoyed that, but she didn't lose her powers. She went back with Nikolai and they worked together as friends. And over time, over years of time, they grew to love each other. I think that would have been a better ending. I was very satisfied with this ending. I gave this book 4 stars, I think. I read it several years ago, and then I gave the last 2 4.5 stars. I was really satisfied with this ending, but I would have been a little bit happier if that's how that went down. Next, I'm talking about my number 5 favorite series, which is The Hunger Games. The reason this comes in at number 5 is because for me, the last book in this trilogy was a complete and utter bust. This could have been like my number 1 favorite series, or number 2 probably, because I love books 1 and 2 so desperately that this should have been my favorite series, but I hated book 3. Now, full disclaimer, I have read books 1 and 2 about 5, 6, 7 times. Like, I've reread this book so many times, maybe even closer to 10 times. And I reread it every year, every December. So the first 2 books are very fresh on my mind. However, book 3 I've only read twice, I think. And the last time I read it, I promised myself I would never read it again because I hate it so much. So it's not fresh on my mind, so I'm not going to be able to like really in-depth discuss all the reasons that I hated book 3 because it's been so long. So I'm only going to discuss 2 things, even though basically the entire book was a mess for me. So the 2 things that still stand out in my mind that really, really upset me was 1, Finnick's death, which, don't get me wrong, I think that if there's a big death in a series of somebody important, of somebody that we care about, that's fantastic. I think that that's good. I think that that's realistic. War should have penalties. But I didn't like the way Finnick's death was done because it was so abrupt. It was so sudden. It was so just like, they're climbing a ladder. He's dead. Okay, let's move on, guys. It was so fast that I had to read it twice to make sure I understood what was actually happening. And then, literally, they just moved on. There was hardly any, like, emotion. It was as if the characters barely knew him. There was a little bit of, like, oh man, that sucks. And then, like, let's keep going, guys. And I get that it was during, like, a really fast-paced scene, but there wasn't any, like, time for the reader to breathe and to mourn. And there wasn't any time for the characters to breathe and to mourn. And so I really felt like as a reader, the first time I read this, I felt like I never got to deal with his death. And I still feel like, wait, what, is he dead? Because I never had time to just pause and go, holy cow, one of my favorite characters is dead now. Because it happened so fast and then we moved on and it like never got really mourned. And that made me mad. And I think that made me mad partially because I really cared about Finnick, but it also made me mad because that was the feel of the entire book. The whole book felt like everything was just like hit him and leave. Like nothing felt dealt with. Now, the other thing and the biggest thing that really, really bothered me about the last book in this series is Katniss's arc. I feel like her character never grew. From book 1 to book 3, she was the same, if not worse. You've got the love triangle, and I guess there's 3 things that really made me mad. I guess I'll talk about the love triangle. The love triangle really bothered me because I really feel like Katniss never was in love with either of these guys. I feel like the entire time she clearly articulated, I don't know how I feel. I just want to protect my family and make it out alive. I'll deal with all this crap later. I don't care about dealing with who I have a crush on right now. And both the guys were like, okay, but yeah, do you like me though? And it just made me so mad because I felt like it was really clear that she never really loved either of these men. And so she just kind of was like, I don't know, guys, and never dealt with it. And in the end, the same thing happened. She still never dealt with it. Like, she told Gale, I'll probably never forgive you for the bomb thing. And then he left. So, okay, so there's that. But then with Peeta, she just went back to her house and like was dealing with her PTSD, which I get, that's fine. But like she never reached out to him. You know what I mean? Like he came to her, he showed up at her door and she just kind of like was like, okay, and just let him in the house. But like she never made a decision. She basically just gave up and then Peeta came to her again as he always did. And she was just like, yeah, all right, and just let it happen. Just like she did throughout the entire series. She just shrugged her shoulders and let whichever guy was pursuing her at the time be the one to kiss her at the time. And the fact that even at the end, she still did the same thing. She still never made a decision. She never said, Peeta, I choose you. She did say, Gale, I don't choose you, but she never said, Peeta, I choose you. And the fact that that happened, like, make a choice, girl. And I guess, okay, so then the last thing that I didn't like about this, it's all coming up. The last thing that I didn't like about this book was in the end when they were at the round table and they were deciding, okay, we can either terminate the Hunger Games completely or we can keep the Hunger Games going, except now we'll make the capital children face to the death and mutilate and kill each other and, you know, ruin their lives. And Katniss was the final vote and she said, yeah, let's destroy let's keep doing the thing that destroyed my life and made me depressed and dealing with PTSD and just like miserable. Let's do it to other people now, which I understand the mentality of from someone in a first book. But someone in the third book, I would think that you had developed enough as a person to not still have that, you know what I mean? I felt like she was the same person from start to finish after everything that she went through. I didn't see any character development and I was pretty upset with her that she chose to do the exact same thing to other people that was done to her. And I understand that desire to get revenge or whatever, but I just felt like it was really poor character development and I was pretty disappointed in Katniss just being the same person from start to finish and never making any decisions except for to destroy other people's lives the way her life was destroyed. Good job, Katniss. you ruined the book. Okay, number 4 favorite series, Kiss of Deception. Now, the Remanent Chronicles. Now, I've only read this book, this series through one time. I do plan on rereading this series this year. I have the audiobook on Overdrive on hold, so hopefully I'll be able to start rereading them soon. So my details on this are going to be fuzzy, and it'll probably be brief because I haven't reread, and when you reread is really when things solidify in your mind. So I was decently happy with the ending for this one, especially the ending with the couple, with Leah, is that how you say her name? Leah and Rafe, and the way it was open and the way it was tragic. Like, she had to choose her kingdom over him, which in my opinion is the strongest thing I've ever read a female protagonist do, to actually like choose the good of her people and to protect her kingdom over the man she loves and to walk away from him. Holy cow. Holy cow. Ooh, I loved that scene. But then the fact that she went back to her kingdom and she accepted that she wasn't going to be with Rafe and she was going to give up the love of her life and she was going to give up her chance for love for the sake of her kingdom. Such a strong protagonist. And then she just accepted it and was fine with it and was choosing her kingdom. And then he came to her kingdom and he said, I don't understand how this could possibly ever work, but I'm willing to figure out a way. That like tragic yet open-ended, ooh, it was perfect. But what wasn't perfect was the end of that war. Can we talk about the end of that war? Can we talk about how, I read this a while ago. I haven't reread it yet, so it's all really fuzzy. All I remember is like some big face-off and then somebody like coming out of nowhere and diving in front of something to save her life. And then Leah stands at like the peak of the mountain and speaks to all the people that are in the middle of fighting, and magically she speaks all the languages so everybody can hear her, and then everybody's like, you're right, we should stop fighting. I know that this is like very non-specific and very fuzzy, and I might even be saying it a little bit wrong because again, I haven't reread this one yet, and I'm going to this year, so when I do reread it, I'll be more specific when I update my Goodreads review. But I just remember that ending, like the way the battle ended, I was just like, oh, you could have done better than that. Also, the whole scene where Leah's best friend, who I can't remember the name of right now, I don't remember her name, but Leah's best friend, when Kaden delivers her baby, I remember at the time being like, that seemed convenient. And then shortly thereafter, I had a baby and I was like, that was convenient. That is not how childbirth is. Next, I'm talking about Mistborn, which I think the trilogy is called Mistborn, by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this is a series that I was unbelievably happy with. Books 1 and 2 got 5 stars, book 3 got 4.5 stars. It was my least favorite in the series, but it was still amazing. So, the thing is that the whole time we don't know who the hero of ages is, and we're led to believe that it's Vin, and Vin believes that it's her, and okay, so there was one thing throughout this entire trilogy that I didn't like. The one thing that I didn't like was the fact that Sazed repeatedly said, I'm not a man. And everybody just kind of accepted it, and they were like, yeah, okay, so you're not a man. And the reason Sazed believes that he's not a man is because he's essentially a eunuch. He has lost his man parts were taken away from him. So I understand how distressing, no, I don't understand. I imagine how distressing that must be and how like demoralizing and frustrating that must be. But it was things like his love interest was like letting him know that she was there for him, and he said, you know, I'm not a man. And she said, well, I've had enough of men, so I'm fine with that, or something like that. And essentially he was expressing his physical unfortunate situation, and she was saying, I don't mind. He considered himself not a man, and that bothered me. I just didn't like the wording, because I was like, you are a man, like you're still a man. Just because somebody did something horrible to you doesn't take away part of who you are. You know, like you're still a man. And so that part of the plot line every time I heard that line, I was just like, oh, that's not true. You're still a man. Okay, so the big reveal of the hero of ages, the thing was that like the hero of ages is neither male nor female. And so it was like, oh, so there's 2 hero of ages maybe, or like whatever. There was a lot of dialogue about that. And so the big reveal was it's Sazed, because he's neither male nor female. He should be male, but his manhood was cut off. So he's neither. I hated that because I never bought into the idea that he's not a man just because like somebody brutalized him. That doesn't make him not a man because he was tortured, because he was brutalized. That doesn't make him not a man. And then like the prophecy was like, oh yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Like, I don't know. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. Still an amazing trilogy. Loved it. But the big reveal of who the hero of ages was didn't work. Next, my number 2 favorite series, the Lunar Chronicles. So there were a few things that I didn't love about this one. I'll be really brief on it. I've read this series through twice now, and I like this series because it's very light and easy and quick, but still just really, really well done. I don't know, now that I've sat on it, I'm not sure I would give it my number 2 spot. Still, I'd probably put it further down on the list, but I'm going off of that video that I made back in January. But anyway, a couple of things that I didn't like about this. The war was too clean. Everybody made it out alive. We had 9 main characters. We had all of our couples plus Aiko. All 9 of our main characters made it out alive. There were some costs to the war, like Wolf was a little bit more deformed than he was previously. Aiko, I think, had to get patched up. Cinder was no longer capable of accessing all of her cyborg abilities, I believe. Or maybe they got that fixed, I can't remember. Scarlet had a wound, Cress had a wound, Thorn got his eyesight back. So anyway, nobody died. We had 9 protagonists and ain't nobody died. Also, everybody made it out with their coupling. I mean, Aiko never got a coupling, but she does in her follow-up graphic novel. But anyway, like, nobody's dead and everybody's dating each other. A little bit convenient. And then the other thing that I didn't like, something that I mentioned in my Stop Putting Stuff in This Book, in Books video, was I don't really love the whole, like, I just took power of a monarchy. Okay, monarchy dissolved. Peace, guys. I just hate that plot line. I don't see it very often, but I don't know, I just feel like you just initiated a war and like hundreds, maybe thousands of people died. And then once you become queen, you're just like, we probably shouldn't have a queen anymore. Let's just get rid of this monarchy. I don't know, I feel like the country wouldn't like that. The country wouldn't just be like, yeah, okay, you're a queen, so bye. I just don't like it. Okay, and last, we are talking about Harry Potter, which I have reread the first like 3 books of the Harry Potter series about 1 million times, and I've reread the last several books a lot as well, but not a lot recently. So I'm really fuzzy on how Harry Potter ends, and I'm in the middle of a reread of the series again, and I'm actually going to make it through the end this time. So I'll be able to talk more about it later, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to mention the one thing that I didn't love. Penalty of War, done very well. People that we adore died. A lot of people that we adore died. It was very realistic. I appreciated that. The one thing that I want to say that I wasn't happy about is in the epilogue, and again, I haven't reread the ending of this series in a really long time, so I'm sure there's more that we could talk about, so just forgive me for not really remembering. But in the epilogue, Harry Potter named his son Albus Severus Potter. I get that Snape did something good. In the end, he was on the right side, but he wasn't good. I know this is a whole discussion, and I don't want to start a debate, and I'm not interested in starting a debate in the comments about if Snape was good or bad. The fact of the matter is, whether you believe he was good or bad, I don't care a little bit. I don't want to talk about it, but regardless of if you think that he was sunshine and butterflies, he was a horrible teacher and he treated Harry terribly. I don't care if you think he had reason, he didn't. I don't care if you think he had reason to treat Harry horribly. He was emotionally and sometimes physically abusive to a child who grew up in a horribly abusive home. To an orphan boy who has never had family, and the only people that he knew as family until he was 11 years old, physically, mentally, and emotionally abused him daily. And then he goes to a school. Snape is aware of Harry's situation and continued to abuse him throughout school. Openly admits to his hatred towards Harry. Snape did a good thing in the end. Snape sacrificed his life for the sake of good, not because he cared about good, but only because he was guilty, and because he felt guilty about being responsible for Lily's death. But again, another subject for another day. Harry names his child after Snape. And I just feel like that makes sense, because from a psychological standpoint, someone who's been abused repeatedly their entire life has no concept for what a healthy relationship is a lot of times. They can, but a lot of times they don't. So the fact that Snape did something good in the end and then Harry rewards him or like appreciates him for that, okay. But the way it was done made it seem like Snape deserved that, and frankly he didn't. He did something good in the end, something very good, something that was instrumental in the Dark Lord's fall. So mad respect that your guilty conscience made you do something good because you felt bad about the massively bad thing you did. Not because you care about the good side, but just because you're obsessed with Lily. It's fine, I'm ranting. I don't think that Snape deserved to have a child named after him. End scene. Whew. I have now at length discussed why I am not 100% satisfied with the endings of some of my very favorite series of all time. These are still my favorite series. I still love them. I still recommend every single one of them. I will still reread every single one of them multiple times in the future. But these are the reasons these are the things that I would just adjust a little bit if I could. Down in the comments, oh man, I'm afraid of the comments for this one. Oh man. Down in the comments, let me know what your favorite breed of puppy is. Let's not talk about this anymore. I don't know, you guys, let's talk. Let me know what things you would change about your favorite series, what things you would change about these. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm afraid of the comments for this one. Whatever. All right, so there you go. These are my opinions. Try not to hate me over them, because that would be, quite frankly, ridiculous. But all right. I post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye.